What if I told you that your IQ is not fixed? Not a number stamped on your forehead at birth, not a ceiling placed over your potential by genetics or circumstance. What if the very intelligence you use to navigate money, opportunity, and the future was something you could engineer? Stay with me, because what I'm about to share with you is not motivational filler. This is neuroscience meeting wealth strategy. And by the end of this video, my dear friend, you will never look at your own mind the same way again. Let me tell you about a boy who couldn't read until he was 7. His teachers wrote letters home, described him as mentally slow, unsociable, adrift in his own world. His father was told, and I want you to hear this, that this child would never amount to anything. That boy's name was Albert Einstein. Now let me tell you about another young man. He was considered so unremarkable at school that his own father called him lazy. He failed his medical degree, was described by his professors as someone with no special talents. He drifted for years, no direction, no fire. That man was Charles Darwin, the same Darwin who rewrote our understanding of life itself. Two of history's greatest minds, both dismissed, both underestimated, both living proof of something the system never wants to teach you. Intelligence is not inherited, it is built. Now here is where it becomes personal and financial. My dear friend, we are told a lie about wealth. We are told that money creates opportunity, that to build wealth, you first need capital, you need connections, you need luck. But the 1%, the people who build wealth from nothing and rebuild it even when they lose it, they know something different. They know that your brain is your primary asset, not your bank account, not your portfolio, your neural architecture. Because when you change how your brain processes problems, patterns, and possibilities, the money follows. It has no choice. So today, we build the blueprint. 5 habits, backed by science, proven by history, and each one designed to physically restructure your brain into a wealth-generating instrument. Welcome to the Genius Blueprint. The default mode network. It sounds like a screensaver setting, but neuroscientists consider it one of the most powerful systems in the human brain. Here's what it does. When you stop consuming input, no podcast, no scroll, no noise, your brain doesn't go idle. It activates. It begins connecting distant memories, synthesizing patterns, and generating insights that no amount of content consumption could produce. This is where Einstein took his famous walks, where Darwin had his thinking path, a gravel loop behind his house he called the sand walk, where he paced every single day in silence. Now here's the uncomfortable truth for the modern age. Endless content consumption is keeping you intellectually broke. Every hour you spend passively consuming someone else's thoughts is an hour your default mode network goes silent. You are renting ideas instead of generating them. And in the wealth economy, rented thinking earns a salary. Original thinking builds an empire. My fellow architect, the habit is simple. 1 hour a day, no input. Walk, sit, stare at the ceiling if you must. Let your brain do what it was designed to do when left alone. Solve. The $1 million idea doesn't come from another podcast. It surfaces from the silence between them.
There is a phenomenon in neuroscience called desirable difficulty. When your brain encounters a problem it cannot immediately solve, it begins growing new synaptic connections. It recruits neural resources. It expands. But the moment you Google the answer, the moment you outsource the discomfort, that growth stops. The connection never forms. My dear friend, this is why the highest paid skill in the modern economy is not coding, not finance, not marketing. It is the ability to sit with a hard problem and not abandon it. Most people quit within minutes. The discomfort feels like failure. But that discomfort, it's the feeling of your brain building new architecture. Warren Buffett once said he reads 500 pages a day. But notice, he doesn't just read, he thinks. He sits with problems for days, weeks. He calls this letting the ideas marinate. That marination process is productive struggle at scale. The market pays a premium for people who can solve hard problems, not because hard problems require intelligence, but because most intelligent people have been conditioned to avoid them. Become the person who runs toward the hard problem, not because you're brave, because you understand that the struggle is the upgrade.
Leonardo da Vinci left behind over 7,000 pages of notebooks. They are chaotic, contradictory, full of half-finished thoughts and wild tangents. They are also the most valuable private notebooks in human history. Da Vinci didn't write to document what he already knew. He wrote to discover what he didn't yet understand. The act of writing was the act of thinking itself. Here is the neurological truth. Spoken thought is processed primarily in Wernicke's area, a region built for speed and association. But written thought engages your prefrontal cortex, the seat of executive reasoning, strategic planning, and complex decision-making. When you write, your brain upgrades the quality of the thought. My fellow architect, this has a direct financial application. The clearest thinkers in any room always attract the most capital. Investors don't back excited people, they back clear people, people who can articulate a strategy, anticipate risks, and communicate with surgical precision. Clear writing equals clear thinking. Clear thinking equals financial magnetism. Start a messy notebook, not a journal, not a gratitude log, a thinking notebook. Write your problems, argue with yourself on paper. Let your worst ideas die on the page so your best ones can breathe. Da Vinci built flying machines in notebooks before the world had engines to power them. What are you building?
Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett's partner, architect of Berkshire Hathaway, and one of the most quietly brilliant investors of the 20th century, called it his lattice work of mental models. The idea is deceptively simple. You learn the fundamental principles from as many disciplines as possible: psychology, physics, biology, history, game theory, thermodynamics, and you carry them all simultaneously. Then, when you encounter a new problem, you don't see it through one lens, you see it through 20. Psychologists call this transfer intelligence, the ability to apply learning from one domain to solve problems in a completely unrelated field. And here's the wealth insight most people miss. Every unique financial opportunity in history has been created by someone who connected dots that others, trapped in a single discipline, could not see. Reed Hastings didn't invent streaming from inside the film industry. He saw it from the outside, through the lens of software and subscription economics. Elon Musk applied rocket engineering principles to battery technology because he didn't know you weren't supposed to. My dear friend, your competitive advantage is not depth in one field. It's the unexpected connections between many. The mind that reads broadly, thinks laterally, and synthesizes across domains doesn't just solve problems, it creates markets. Read one book outside your industry every month. Learn one principle from physics or biology or history that seems completely irrelevant. Then wait. The connection will come, and when it does, it will be worth more than anything inside your current lane. Everything we have built together in this video, the deep thinking, the struggle, the writing, the mental models, all of it runs on one fuel source, your prefrontal cortex. And chronic stress, destroys it. Sleep deprivation destroys it. Decision fatigue erodes it. The glorified grind culture that tells you to sleep 4 hours and suffer through exhaustion as a badge of honor, it is neurologically bankrupting you. Here is what the science shows without ambiguity. During deep sleep, your brain activates the glymphatic system, a biological cleaning mechanism that flushes amyloid plaques and metabolic waste from your neural tissue. It consolidates memory. It restructures connections formed during the day. The brain does not upgrade during the hustle. It upgrades during the recovery. My fellow architect, protecting your cognitive energy is not laziness. It is maintenance on your primary asset. Jeff Bezos has publicly stated he guards his 8 hours of sleep with intention because the decisions he makes at peak cognition are worth billions, not thousands, billions. The fake hustle, 18-hour days on cortisol and caffeine, scattered and reactive, produces the illusion of productivity while quietly dismantling the very neural infrastructure that wealth building requires. Rest is not a reward for hard work. Rest is part of the work. My dear friend, we live in a world that will sell you a course, a stock, a crypto token, a shortcut to the life you want. And some of those things may have their place, but none of them, none, will ever deliver the return on investment that comes from upgrading the instrument through which you experience, process, and shape your entire reality. Intelligence is not a lottery ticket. It is a system, a living, malleable, endlessly upgradable system that responds directly to the habits you feed it. Einstein was slow until he wasn't. Darwin was ordinary until he chose not to be. The difference was never their genes. It was what they did with their minds when no one was watching. 5 habits. Walk in silence and let your default mode network architect ideas. Sit with hard problems until the struggle becomes your superpower. Write messy to think clearly. Build a lattice work of knowledge across every domain you can touch, and protect your cognitive energy like the irreplaceable asset it is. Because the wealthiest investment you will ever make is not in a stock, it's not in real estate, it's not in a startup. It is in the neural pathways that will make every other investment decision smarter, clearer, and more precise for the rest of your life. My fellow architect, your brain is not fixed. It never was. Now, go build it.